All right, today we are diving deep into one of the most brutal, just unforgettable novels in American literature, Frank Norris's McTeague. This isn't just a story. It's an autopsy of a man's soul. It's about how a simple guy in a modern city can have something truly monstrous awakened inside him by the corrosive power of greed.
So let's meet our guy, McTeague. This is how the book introduces him. Not as a hero, not even really as a man, but as an animal, a workhorse. I mean, get this. He's a giant, over 6 feet tall, with these massive hands that are so strong he can pull a tooth without any tools. But his mind? It's just like his body. Heavy, slow, sluggish. But here's the key thing you gotta understand at the start. He's not a bad guy. He's simple, he's content, he's docile.
Because that's the central, terrifying question of this whole novel. This isn't about good versus evil in some classic sense. It's about that thin veneer of civilization we all wear, and what it takes to just rip it right off. We're about to watch how this simple beast transforms into a cold-blooded murderer. It's a journey, and it's fueled by two of the most powerful poisons known to humanity.
To really get the fall, you first have to understand the life he had. His entire world was this one little bubble, Polk Street in San Francisco, right at the turn of the 20th century. It was this tiny, predictable universe where, as far as he was concerned, he had already made it. He was a success.
I mean, just look at this. The sheer monotony on this slide was his entire life. His dental parlors, and he's not even a licensed dentist, by the way, catered to the working class. His dinner was the same heavy meal every single day with a big mug of steamed beer. And his big thrill? Playing German songs badly on his Cortanina. He was a creature of absolute habit, a man with zero ambition, because in his slow-moving mind, he'd already achieved everything he could ever want.
Now, to really grasp McTeague's tragedy, you have to get the philosophy behind it. It's called naturalism. And you have to understand this was a radical idea at the time. America was all about the self-made man, right? The idea that anyone can become anything. Well, naturalism says, not so fast. It argues that free will is basically an illusion, that we are all products of our DNA and our environment. Our fates are locked in by forces we can't control, and deep down we all have these primal animal instincts, just waiting for the right trigger. So McTeague isn't a good man who chooses evil. He's a man with a bad inheritance, just waiting for the world to flip a switch.
And boy, do those triggers come. Two of them arriving almost at the same time, and they are going to shatter McTeague's simple little existence forever. And they're going to prove just how fragile that existence really was.
The first trigger is a woman named Trina Seep. She comes into his dental parlor as a patient, and something in McTeague just wakes up. And let's be clear, it's not love. It's a possessive, overwhelming, animal desire. The book says he literally feels faint just from smelling her hair. His simple world is just thrown into total chaos. And this isn't some sweet romance. He assaults her while she's knocked out on ether, and later he corners her and forces a kiss. It's a conquest of pure, brute strength.
And then comes the second trigger. On the exact same day they get engaged, Trina finds out she won the lottery. The prize? $5,000. Now, today that might not sound like a world-changing amount of money, but back then, that was an absolute fortune. The kind of money that could set you up for life. It was the American dream, right there in an envelope. But that piece of paper, that promise of gold, it's the drop of poison that's going to contaminate everything.
And from this moment on, you can't separate them. Lust and money are now tangled together. McTeague's raw desire for Trina is now fused with her fortune. And for Trina, that money becomes something to love way more than her new husband. And don't forget McTeague's friend Marcus, who used to be into Trina. Well, now he's just stewing in resentment, and that resentment is going to have catastrophic consequences.
And this quote, wow, it just nails that whole naturalism thing. Norris is telling us, straight up, the beast was always there. The sickness of his father, a violent drunk miner, it's flowing in his veins. The desire for Trina, the smell of her gold, they didn't create the monster. They just unlocked the cage. They peeled back that thin layer of civilization.
You know, their marriage starts with this tiny flicker of hope. For a second you think, maybe they can have a normal, happy life. But it's too late. The gold has already started its work, just slowly, methodically, poisoning Trina's very soul. The change in Trina is just horrifying to watch. At first, she's this excited young bride planning their new home, but her instinct to save money just curdles into this sick, obsessive greed.
She refuses to touch a single penny of her winnings. She makes them live off of McTeague's tidy income, and she starts polishing her gold coins, talking to them. She even sleeps with them, loving the feel of the cold metal against her skin.
And that's our obsession, right there in her own words. Whatever love she might have had for her husband gets completely transferred to this pile of metal. The gold becomes her lover, her child, the only thing that matters. She saves every scrap, she practically starves them both, just to add a few more dollars to her pile. In her own way, she has become just as much of a beast as McTeague, a beast of greed.
And this is when the outside world starts to close in. Remember Marcus, the jealous friend? Well, he gets his revenge. He rats out McTeague for practicing dentistry without a license. And just like that, their life collapses. They have to sell everything. But even when they're totally broke, Trina refuses to touch her lottery money. Her refusal strips McTeague of his job, his pride, his entire identity. And, with nothing to do all day, he just starts to drink. So their life together becomes this toxic, suffocating prison. He's idle and drunk, she's obsessed and cold. And the alcohol, it doesn't just get him drunk, it reawakens that hereditary evil. He starts to beat her. At first it's to get money for whiskey, but later it seems like he just does it for the pleasure of it. And in this really twisted way, Trina almost welcomes it. Like the physical pain is a fair trade for protecting her precious gold.
And now, the downward spiral just accelerates. McTeague finally abandons her. Trina is forced to become a scrub woman. Her fingers literally start to rot from an infection she gets carving toy animals on the side. She's living in this filthy little room, but she still has her $5,000 in gold. And McTeague knows it.
Fueled by cheap booze and this burning sense of injustice, McTeague's thoughts just turn black. He starts fantasizing about violence. Not just about getting the money, but about the act of violence itself. He imagines torturing her, making her pay for humiliating him. That foul stream of evil Norris talked about, it's not running under the surface anymore. It's a raging flood.
This setting is just so deliberate and chilling. On the one day of the year that's supposed to be about peace on Earth, McTeague tracks Trina down. He finds her at a kindergarten where she works as a cleaner. She's on her hands and knees, scrubbing the floor. That docile draft horse from the beginning of our story? He's gone forever. What's standing there now is a predator.
He beats her senseless, he breaks her arms, and then he batters her to death. The murder's brutal, but the motive is everything. He doesn't just want to kill her, he wants her treasure. After it's done, he finds her heavy sack of gold coins, and he just flees into the night. Now, he's a killer and a thief.
With his wife's blood on his hands and her gold on his back, McTeague is now a fugitive. And he instinctively runs back to the mining country, where he grew up. It's like his transformation into a beast required a physical journey back to his origins. He's trying to disappear into the vast, unforgiving American West.
But you can't escape something like this. A posse. And guess who's in it? A vengeful Marcus Scholler. They're on his trail. McTeague is driven further and further into the wilderness, until he crosses into the most brutal environment you can imagine, Death Valley. It's a landscape that is as stripped of life and mercy as McTeague himself has become. The perfect stage for a naturalist ending.
And this brings us to one of the most iconic, unforgettable endings in all of literature. Out in the middle of these salt flats, under a sun that literally kills, Marcus finally catches up to him. They have one last, desperate fight. In the chaos, their only canteen of water is lost. And just as McTeague kills Marcus, with his last dying act, Marcus manages to handcuff their wrists together. The final image is just staggering. McTeague, alive, chained to a corpse, with 100 pounds of gold at his feet, no water, no escape, in the middle of Death Valley.
And the final, crushing irony is that he got the gold. He defeated his enemy, but he's doomed. The money he killed for is now just a mocking, useless weight that has sealed his fate. That little canary he's carried with him all this time, the one symbol of his simple old life, it dies right there in its cage. His victory is his execution. And so, we're left with this question. Was McTeague just a victim of circumstance, a simple man corrupted by the poison of gold? Or was he always a monster? Was he always this creature of hereditary evil, for whom civilization was just a temporary cage? Frank Norris, well, he offers no easy answers. He just leaves us to confront the terrifying possibility of the brute that might just lie dormant inside all of us.